Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to join our notification gang. Teachers of Reddit, have you ever had a student try to seduce you? What happened? I was regularly subbing in a pre-K classroom a while back. We were lining up after recess one day when a tiny round boy from the class popped up beside me and slid his hand into mine. I looked down and said, "Hi, Felix." He looked up into my eyes and said, so sweetly, "Miss Taconic Tonic, when I give you a ring, and when we get married, me and you and Mummy and Daddy will live together in McDonald's. Forever." I teach high school kids. I'm young compared to most other teachers at my school. I get loads of cheeky comments/questions. The best one was, "Miss, I can't come to that detention you sat me on Wednesday. I can do Friday though, my place?" I was a graduate teaching assistant, and I was meeting with an undergraduate student about a poor test grade, which wasn't uncommon as the professor often let students improve test grades. She came in wearing a tracksuit, the kind you might wear to the gym, not so much anything else that required modesty. The top was unzipped, displaying her impressive breasts, which were clearly meant to be on display. She stated she was willing to do anything to improve her grade. For one brief, glorious moment, a multitude of scenarios ran through my mind. After that one brief, glorious moment, I walked her out of my office and into the professor's office without saying a word. I don't know if she was seriously offering what I thought she was or if she just expressed herself poorly and had just come from the gym. I was in my 3rd year of law school, and I wasn't going to find out. This is my father's story, so probably couldn't happen now like it did in the 70s, but at my father's high school graduation, the entire class knew of one student that had a crush on a female teacher. She had skipped a few grades and become a teacher early, so she was about 6 years older than him. At the graduation ceremony, the teachers were all lined up to shake each student's hand. This particular student went across shaking their hands, then planted a hand on each cheek and full mouth kissed the teacher on which he had a crush. It was considered a joke and everyone laughed as he received a light slap for the prank. Today the two are married with 3 children. I'm a substitute teacher. I had a 2nd grader put her chin on the desk with her hands on her cheeks, letting out a huge sigh with the phrase, "Mr. M, you are the man of my dreams. Does this count?" I'm fairly young and teach middle schoolers, so the most that ever happens is me catching them looking at my butt when I'm writing on the board or trying to look down my shirt when I help them with a math problem. It's really awkward for me, but I know they're in an awkward stage, so I don't call them out. Usually after I catch them they look away quickly and don't do it again. A girl once took my phone and put it between her breasts. I didn't know how to respond, I was merely an intern. Same girl put cute as evaluation of my teaching. Awkward. A friend had it worse, a girl went completely crazy over him. She started crying and shit, explicitly told him she wanted to have sex with him. He tried to calm her down and talk her to stop crying. Didn't work. He had to get the principal involved in the end. Both girls were 15. Student taught in middle school band, and after a few months one of the clarinet players broke out of a pack of giggling girls to ask me if I had a girlfriend and what my favorite thing to do on a date was. She was so visibly nervous I felt bad for her, gave me some flashbacks of my incredible awkwardness at that age. I teach elementary school, so I've never had a student seriously try to seduce me, but I'm a woman in my early 20s and sometimes a boy in my class will have a crush on me, and it will be hilariously obvious. A 5th grader once wanted to ask me if I had a boyfriend, but he had his friend do it instead because he was too embarrassed. Had a student leave her phone hash on the final exam of a senior level finance course. We went out a few times. She was cool, we are still friends, NBD. That was the only one I acted upon. Other than that, I get about 1 or 2 lady students per semester I teach ask me out or try to seduce. Nowadays I assign seats and put those types in the back of the class. I teach middle school, so I have had a few boys with crushes. One boy would use his lunch money and buy me a cup of coffee and bring it to me. Had to call home and it was a funny, awkward parent conversation. Another boy would always tell his teachers he had lessons, I'm a music teacher, and come down and see if I needed help. Again, had to send him back and talk to his parents. The most awkward and uncomfortable one was this boy viola player, Stephen. He would compliment me and always say borderline inappropriate things. I talked to guidance, but I was one of the few teachers that could get him to do anything, so they would ask me to try and mentor him. I called home, but no parents around, just grandparents who spoke Spanish. Then he started trying to put his arm around me, and be uncomfortably close to me. I had to go to the guidance counselor again and get them involved because it was bad. He couldn't switch classes because I'm the only orchestra teacher, and he was actually quite a good player. One day he comes to lessons and says, "Well, I'm a man now, Mrs. Iramazel 919. Come sit next to me and let me show you." Welp, I had to ask him to leave, again guidance meetings because I could never get in touch with any parents. Turned out he went to a party and got a blowjob by two girls at the same time and was bragging about it. Finally, had a meeting with parents, principal and a translator. He was suspended for the rest of the year since I was not the only person he was inappropriate with. Mind you, the kid is in 8th grade, so like 13. He is now in jail at 19 for bleep. It's really sad actually. This happened to me several times with the same girl. She was constantly failing and at the end of the 6 weeks, would become flirty. Her biggest thing would be to ask if there was any way she could pass the 6 weeks and then press her breasts against my arm. I would ask her to get off of me and she would comply. Nothing came of it. She was a vile, disgusting young woman who I was continually repulsed by. I documented the incidents, reported them to my app and principal, and asked that she be removed from my class, but nothing was ever done. The school I worked at was low performing and attendance was a huge issue, so they weren't about to suspend her. Yep. A couple girls tried that shit on me. Low cut shirt, touchy-feely, I'll do anything for a better grade. Nothing happened, I just glared and said studying is a good way to get a better grade. I was a substitute teacher a few years back. One night I went to a party with some friends and ended up making out with a really cute blonde. A few days later I was subbing for a high school class and who should walk in but said blonde? She had neglected to say that she was still in high school and certainly didn't look it, so this caught me by surprise. I was hoping nothing would be said, but as soon as the bell rang her friend who she had been whispering to exclaimed, "You made out with the teacher?" So much for subtlety. To make it worse, she was smiling and sending me texts throughout the entire class period saying, "You look really cute. When are we getting together again?" I never saw her again and nothing came of it, but it was about the most uncomfortable hour of my life. I had a student buy me a light-up rose and an enormous fake diamond ring for Valentine's Day. He told me I could maybe just wear it or whatever. They're pretty young, so it's innocent. Parents on the other hand are not so innocent. I've had a few that have made some inappropriate phone calls and remarks. One even grabbed my ass. I had to have coworkers sit in during parent conferences just to be safe. Yes. Finally the chance to tell this. I'm a female high school teacher, and once during my second year of teaching, I was 24, one of my male students came in before school. "Can I talk to you?" he asked. He seemed nervous. "Sure," I said. He pulled a chair up in front of my desk and sat down. "I'm in love," he said. He then grabbed my hand and started to stroke my palm with his index finger. I yanked my hand back, and may have screamed at the same time. "I'm much older than you," I said. "It doesn't matter. I have a boyfriend. It doesn't matter. Leave, and go with me." "No." I finally got him to leave my room, and then immediately ran down the hall to tell the school social worker, my department chair, and every teacher friend I had just so I couldn't get nailed on it later. It was not the most serious seduction attempt ever, but it took me by complete surprise and was probably the most awkward conversation of my life, and, as a teacher, I have a lot of awkward conversations. I've been teaching for a few years. I'm young and not hideous, so I get a lot of come-ons. Though to be honest, they're more sexual harassment than come-ons, intended to embarrass rather than seduce. But one boy in my class keeps hanging round my room at break and lunch and asking for the books and plays in French to read. I think he might have a crush. He told me my eye makeup was pretty today. It was. Conversely, I had a teacher in school who tried to seduce me. He once told me in class I has a husky voice and would be well suited to working on a phone sex line. What a guy. Probably buried, but I was pursued by a male student. Awkward since I'm a heterosexual male. student made awkward comments and would try to get my attention. I was naive to it all. Until, he had his friend wait after class and give me his number. I told my fellow teachers and left it at that. Turns out he was moving and on his last day, wanted to give it a shot. I was flattered and a bit embarrassed.